with bans. I think Jace, first round ban, will be the meta. It just replaces Urgot, or will be first picked like Urgot in the past. We're seeing a Hanwha Live Sylas ban. Maybe Temp doesn't feel good about other matchups into Sylas in lane, and he was drawing a lot of jungle backup to get the kills on Sylas, so perhaps he wants Pawn to go in a different direction. We're actually seeing the Zoe as the other mid lane ban here, so quite a lot of mid lane focus this early into the draft, and now we're seeing some of these Pawn champions. Again, felt like a bit like a sacrificial lamb in game number 1, and take away some of those champions that are relevant with just a couple of items and with some strong CC, and the Vladimir will also be banned. There's a lot open in this draft.
Ezreal.
Yep. They would have to first pick it.
So you don't want to give Deft his Jinx, but you know you can't ban that. But are you really going to give him his Ezreal? Yes. You will, because you want to get Tempt onto LeBlanc and deny Pawn his LeBlanc, but still a very scary thing to leave available in game 2.
Let's talk about the why. Why are Hanwha Life doing it this way? They are targeting Pawn, and the reason why you might look at this and you can't instantly say, whatever, you can go to Lissandra. Remember the Lissandra game against Hanwha Life is what got him subbed out. He actually messed up pretty bad in that game, and it was the only Lissandra game he's played this season. So what will Pawn take against blind pick LeBlanc with so many of his picks taken off the chart? That is what Hanwha Life is saying. They're saying, all right, we're going to double down around Pawn, but how can they actually find an advantage? And what will Pawn try to play? He is, of course, an Azir player as well.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the idea behind it, but I can't find myself I do find myself shaking my head after, you see both Ezreal and Tahm Kench that were banned in game number 1 go straight over to the side of Kingzone. I'm sure they're very happy about that after they just won on the back of the Deft bus. We'll see if they can do it again here, and if Hanwha Life's gamble essentially pays off. Now, they are going to get a bunch of champions here that they do enjoy to play. We're talking about Olaf, one of those underlying guys I would have hoped for the side of Bono, as that is his favorite champion currently.
They didn't really seem to play around the Rek'Sai very well, so I don't mind just going Olaf and picking that high-tempo jungle. It's been comfort for Hanwha Life. The Ashe, this is an ultra comfort draft from Hanwha Life. He's the first Ashe we've seen since the global ban last week. Has fallen off in priority so far this week, but Sangyun 4-1 on the pick. And you know what this means? This means that Hanwha Life have a blind pickable mid laner that does well in every matchup. Pawn is on a decent champion against it, but you do trust LeBlanc in this matchup more and more in 2019. They have the tempo jungler that almost always will win out if he has winning lanes around it, and they've got the Hawk Shot to give him extra information on the pathing of Cuz. And if Cuz falls back to one of his old picks, the Zac for example, in this scenario, you could worry that they will just be forced out of the jungle and really lose the game around the mid-jungle duos. So mid-jungle duo, very strong on the side of Hanwha Life, and we're seeing if Kingzone, see where Cuz wants to go, because his fallback in situations like this has been Jax in the past. You can consider the Rek'Sai that lost in game number 1. The Lee Sin also, so far, is available, and is most picked, the Aatrox 4-0, is going to be banned by Hanwha Life.
See a lot of focus on the bans to the jungle here for sure, as they already do have their Olaf. The question is, what will be the next one? You were mentioning the Jax is his most played at 4-1. Could always hop back onto something like Gragas or even a Lee Sin that's still available if he really wants to.
Sejuani could be considered. Good matchup into the Olaf to disengage as a tank. All I'll say is, at this point in the draft, I like what Hanwha Life have done, because people will say, Deft got his Ezreal, but you can't ban out Deft. You can't get the player off the Rift. This guy will find an AD carry and wield it well. You can try to target the unreliable side, which is Rascal, Cuz, and Pawn have had up and down games. That is what Hanwha Life are trying to do. They're going to accept the fact that Ezreal Tahm Kench is going to be very annoying and a main win condition for Kingzone at 2 items, and try to keep everyone else on low-tier picks or picks they're less comfortable on. Of course, in practice, we'll see how it all plays out, but so far Hanwha Life are pretty reliable on that approach, and they're going to round out their draft with Urgot semi-removed after the nerfs and Jace gone. What is the blind pick top laner? It's Keys Bard!
Here we go. First pick in this season. And it's definitely not Key's first time playing the champion, though, as we are absolutely throwing caution to the wind on the side of Hanwha Life.
It's ultra comfort. Doesn't it fit into the comfort draft? Yeah. Key made his name on Bard. TSM fans will never forget the Bard at IEM Katowice. It's a big pick for them here, and it's going to be a Sion blind pick top lane. It might be the Jarvan matchup. They'll have to deal with it if it is. See the action on Kingzone. They have overall last pick.
Thinking about Aurelia here into the top lane, and Akali seems like a joke nowadays on 9.4. As, okay, we're going into Camille. You were talking about maybe the Jarvan top. We'll have to see where these picks line up.
Both Rascal and Cuz are legacy Camille players. Rascal played this top quite a lot when he subbed in for Khan from time to time.
Yeah.
Matchup, of course, isn't going to necessarily be a kill threat one without a lot of jungle assistance, but I think it probably will be. Camille top lane, more reliable. Only OnFleek is still playing it in the jungle. Interesting. So we get Camille Jarvan, Lissandra as a top side. Here's what we'll say about what Kingzone have with their top side, which we're kind of examining. We're like, all right, Deft and Tucson are really good. What are the rest of the players doing? They have very, very reliable engage, Valdez. And this is a Ezreal comp that is strongest at 2-item Ezreal. 3 items, of course, still good on Ezreal now that you go double tier build. But 2-item Ezreal in the mid lane with a Tahm Kench roam and everyone else being go buttons is actually another identity for Kingzone that could be wielded very well by them in the mid game. Same level of late game insurance like there was in game number 1, but the matchups themselves aren't that kind for the lane. So there's a lot for Bono to work around here to potentially get a big lead in middle top.
Excited to see if the comfort here for the side of Hanwha Life can drive them up to a win and make this kind of an interesting series, maybe get it back to 1-1. Songyun playing on that Ashe. That was impossible to go for as it was banned on 9.3, but now he can. And definitely some scary stuff here. You were mentioning 2 items, 3 items for Ezreal. Feels like the Ezreal, if it gets ahead, just becomes a threat at any point in the game, as many different players, Deft and Teddy, immediately come to mind as guys who can make this champion look unbelievably OP.
Ballpark is bouncing, I'm bouncing. I'm excited to see these drafts in effect. I'm alive. Can they come back and force game 3?
We are here at Lal Park. Everything is filled up now as we are here on a weekday, and everybody has eventually filed in to come in and save their seats.
And Valdez, we should mention, it's not just any weekday, it's a holiday Friday here in Korea. Of course, it is basically a 100-year anniversary of Korean Independence Day, from what I understand, basically.
Yeah, so the day is the first movement of, the first moment when Korea was under Japan's rule back in 1919, where they decided, hey, we want to be free, we want to, be an independent nation, and a bunch of people got together, students, stuff like that, and wrote up a Declaration of Independence even, and said, we want to declare independence from Japan, and it took a while for them to find it. Eventually happened in 1945, but the reason they put the holiday on this day is because it was the first moment where Korea was like, hey, we're an independent nation, we want to be just South Korea.
Lesson there, and it is, as you say, a very important day for Koreans. I want to talk about the early game a bit here. It's a very smart start. We saw this from Jinnae earlier in the season, where it's a late invade on blue buff, and Sion was also covering his blue buff, so it's all about the potential of a 3-buff start here. Now, they won't necessarily 100% go that way, but it's vertical jungling with an Olaf, a very common thing given his power, but not around the top side, interestingly. This is vertical jungling around the bot side to allow Songyun and Ki to overextend and potentially use that bard to put the hurt onto Tahm Kench early.
Cuz coming in here, taking that blue. As we saw in the top lane, Kleptomancy taken here by Rascal, so we're wondering what to go up against that Sion when it's not a blind pick. You can just go into this. You're not going to have much kill pressure, so no reason to go for something super aggressive in terms of roots. Might as well just try to scale really well and get those items a bit faster with something like Kleptomancy.
After the nerfs to Sion, it'll be interesting to see where the breakpoints are in terms of how much damage is required for a solo kill to happen. Bono's looking for that early turret dive here. Deft and Tucson should know this is possible.
We'll see if they can handle it here. As you see Jarvan all the way over at the Gromp, over at Agatha. We'll see they can get away from this one as Bono looking for the angle. There's the stun by Key, but Bono and Key taking way too much damage, and now we got a Devour here on a Bono, who has to flash away. Does get the heal though, and well, see you later. This is Bard in this game. Don't get to see that ability used too often, but failed dive does actually, nobody does die on the backside at least.
It just seemed pretty ill-conceived. It was always possible because we knew Olaf was vertical jungling on the bottom side of the map. A magical journey can disengage you from a turret faster than necessarily a flash can reliably do, but it's a level 2 Bard when it started, and that means that you can't tank the turret for very long. They don't expend the ignite early. They didn't really seem to have a plan to guarantee a kill, and the minion wave was in an awkward spot as well. So I think the execution was not quite as inspired as the idea, and in the end, it's no harm, no foul, but they do draw the heal out of Sangin.
Yeah, I mean, give it a shot, but at pretty much any stage in the game, it will be hard to do much damage against Tahm Kench and Ezreal with Tahm Kench as well.
Remember though, Valdez, small point, teleport Ezreal, heal on Ashe, so they didn't have a heal necessarily. So the ignite there, even after the nerf, you understand the thought process from Hanwha Life, but it did feel a bit like a slow-moving car crash where Olaf revealed himself and they waited and they waited. With that extra time, the element of surprise being gone, it was pretty low chance by the end of it.
Yeah. Just got to go for it, I suppose. Not wait too long and get poked out. So in the end, it did not work out, but props to them for trying. Olaf, Bono here went back. Does have the Predator, of course, picked up his boots. We'll have to wait and see which lane he wants to visit next time around, as he is pathing towards the top side scuttle.
The top lane Camille, we've seen a couple of times, but hasn't really inspired us. Been hard matchups as well. We saw Linderung on Jin Air, for example, play that in game 1 of the series yesterday. We weren't a fan of the pick, and it fell very, very far behind. Now, because, hold the point, Olaf's mid.
I'm trying to get on top of this one because in position to come in and just bodyguard here for Pawn. So nobody going to die this time around. As tons of damage goes with a huge fully charged Q coming in here.
Q will kill him.
Rascal, gotta be so careful. Tal still has that one. The Q comes in, and first blood goes in the solo kill to Tal.
Well, unfortunately, Rascal messes that one up in a pretty big way. He actually got a huge win. When Hanwha Life chose to vertical jungle around bot lane, you go Kleptomancy, you max hookshot, and you just get lots of free gold from the enemy, is the strategy you follow. But if you choose the wrong time, Sion's just going to straight up kill you. The Glacial Augment helping the chase down potential. And now, egg on his face. Another late pick Camille that's found a bit wanting in the early game.
Absolutely is. Even had the lane in a fantastic spot. Kind of force Rascal to immediately teleport back, and so many extra minions and XP going to go the way of Call up in the top side. So that blind pick Sion doing work so far, and might be the key here for Hanwha to get a good early game.
Again, we were looking over the win rates for Rascal this season, and we put an X through the 7-0 Urgot. The Akali 2-1, that's removed as well. I have a star on the Jace, which again not available here, and he showed in game 1 is Vladimir could actually lane really well. Now we're seeing Rascal on the dregs, right, of the effective champion pool, and then you just get straight up solo mistakes like this, no jungler involvement, solo kill on the top side. That reminds you, our analysis of Kingzone is, can Pawn, Cuz, and Rascal be steady hands around the inevitable Deft carry? Hanwha Life invested everything to shut down everyone other than Deft, and so far, it's working out.
Cuz level 6, as is Rascal, trying to get something done here onto the Sion before he's too tanky. But, well, we're just going to avert our eyes from that one, as no gank is going to come on in, as Bono trying to secure, once again, the blue buff away from Cuz's jungle.
And what we remember about Camille lanes is that even at 2 items, killing Sion was always really hard. He dies the least of any of these top lane tanks that don't like laning into Camille, so you feel like the more gold that Tal gets, and a solo kill will give you that gold lead, the longer it will be before there's a tipping point where Rascal can solo out Tal and turrets abusing the Q, and that's a problem for Kingzone DragonX, because they would have hoped that'd be around 25 minutes, feeling like 35 to 40 already.
I want to get more of a view down on the bottom side of what's going on with this Bard. We've so far been able to see some really nice burst damage onto Ezreal that basically doesn't have any health at this point in time. And a nice magical journey so far after the failed dive, but waiting for those big moments for Key to really pop off. I believe he did take Ultimate Hunter as well with the Electrocute, so Looking for those big-time ultimates.
They got some pretty good turret diving potential with LeBlanc, Olaf, and Sion roaming through. Level 6 available on Songyun. So far, it's just been kind of a minion wave lead because of their range versus melee support. So this is definitely acceptable losses for Tahm Kench so far. But the first Drake of the game, just going to be vision cleared around it. Kingzone against the flow of play got Drakes in game number 1. Not so much in game number 2.
Very true. We take another look up in the top side as Tal has health. He's got armor. Rascal not backing off, though. Did pick up his own Tiamat, and even though he's down a level, still having a decent time in the trades.
Every Camille top lane matchup, remember, we had a meta where it was against Gnar almost every game in 2018, is can I hookshot trade aggressively with River Vision, with the confidence that I can exit this without my escape, using my escape as initiate? If the answer is yes, you can halve most lanes and you win lanes eventually. It might be late in the game, but it is eventually. If you can't hookshot trade, if you have no topside control, you're basically useless outside of your ultimate. So for now at least, Rascal finding the confidence to go aggressive is at least getting lane control, but it could always be turned around by a roam like we're seeing.
Well, we got 3 members up in the top side here from Hanwha Life because in position is going to find this, and it will turn into a 3-on-2, but unfortunately, Rascal's going to miss the hook shot. The ultimate nicely timed will be going down here, but Tal able to tank this one up, and because just bite off more than he could choose. The question, he's ticking down. That's extremely close to a double kill up in the top side, and a near disaster averted.
Horn stays in mid. He gets, I would assume, one turret play to bot lane.
This is the timing there on the binding, but the ultimate seemed good.
Yeah, the Tempered Fate hits both, but we don't actually see any follow-up from it. Songyun didn't use his ult, so I guess there was some mixed communication there around a kill. Around the top side, Rascal's gone down. The Rift Herald will follow, and that means Camille may be falling perilously behind. But no mirror good story on the bot side means that Def will continue to halve out this lane against Songyun.
I love the gold trail of the gold that goes from the plating. As long as you hit it, you're somewhere nearby. I'm going to hold that thought as Bono extremely low on this Rift Herald. Oh, boy. Because
he couldn't know, but if he went in there, that would have been happy times for him.
Would have been quite nice, but that's not the reality that we do live in. And so it does mean that Bono picks up the Rift Herald.
And I watched the replay of this turret dive. It's a really potent turret dive, the one we alluded to before. Cuz comes to join and almost loses life on the back end as well. If Tal or Olaf had been able to tank 2 more turret shots, it for sure would have been enough time for Temp to chase down the kill. And that means that Sion has been able to do just the dirtiest duo, in that he's got a solo kill in lane, and he's built a utility engage item that helps him in lane. He's going to get health and armor to help with the trades, but also allows him to roam. The sword special, he loves to go for Righteous Glory first on the Sion wherever possible. And that if that means he can balance winning lane trades and roaming better because of just the nature of Sion on the teleport, that would be potential match winner, because we already outlined that Hanwha Life want to fight around the early to mid game, and they're certainly set up to around this Sion at least.
We do take a bit of a look at the mid lane. Whenever the Aftershock is available for Lissandra, you just W and you get rid of any of the damage, essentially, that the LeBlanc is going to do. But Tempt is being smart and always hopping back when the Aftershock is on cooldown. So just a bit of a tip, if you find yourself into this matchup in solo queue, it's very common, especially nowadays with both of those champions. We do have this first Drake coming up here, and Tal just moving on down just in case. Doesn't look like anything will be stolen, as the 2-shot barrage will not take it this time.
Death trying his arm. Not going to be finding the objective steal this time. We already saw one of the 2-shot barrages from the heavens yesterday with Nuclear sniping away the respawn. For now, that's a bridge too far for Def. Give him time. He's only got half an item so far, or building blocks towards an item. Seeing Songyun and Key walk up again. Never trifle too much with Bard and Ashe, especially if Devour's on cooldown.
Very surprising burst damage. If you haven't played against it too much, even on the back of those ranged minions, you can see that Key is just doing AoE damage behind it. Def forced to deal with that.
You can get caught napping a lot against Bard as a Tahm Kench lane, because Tahm Kench is always like 200 units away looking to devour, and if you don't devour, if oh, this trade's fine, you get double bound by the Q, and then things can go bad in a different way. So a lot of mind games there. As Pawn takes a pretty good side of that trade against him.
Like, Tempt didn't bother to hop back and actually just stayed within a bunch of that damage, so does go the way of Pawn this time. You mentioned how his Lissandra didn't look fantastic the first time around that we did see it, or I suppose the last time we did see it against the LeBlanc, but this time is ahead in the CS at least.
Definitely nothing to comment negatively about Pawn so far this game. Just building his core. As Sungyun and me have overstayed here. It takes a lot of damage at least. Teleport back timer is always going to be difficult for a non-TP laner to answer. Here we go. No Tempered Fate.
Not happening this time. Felt like that might have been the try, but even with Devour down, it looks like they may just go for it on the follow-up as here comes Sion. The ultimate comes in from Songyun into the big-time stun. You're going to give that one over to the side of Songyun as, oh, he has to heal just to get out of that one, but at least they do pick up that kill.
5 members invested for the play, so what happens around the Rift, given that actually cost Hanwha Life Esports in game number 1? They get down Def, who accepts his fate, tells Tucson to run away. No way out as Cuz gets a counter kill.
Yeah, Cuz coming in here right towards the tail end of that play down on the bottom side. Bono trying to flash away, and now is going to use that Ragnarok. Will not get knocked up, but is the damage there? Tries to swing it back, but it will not happen as Cuz picks up 2.
And this feels eerily similar to game number 1 as the first play is telegraphed. They use so many resources. Why do they need Sion for that dive? 5 people was too many. 4 was probably the line. On that one, Cuz gets a bit of free time on the top side. Not sure if he got turret played, so not didn't see the timers there, but did get damage done to the turret. And now Kingzone, as Hanwha Life are late on the reset, are actually going to push up and take another turret as well.
Kingzone, great positioning. They leave the Ezreal to go mid. They leave Lissandra with Demolish on the bottom side. They can push this one super fast, especially with the auto attack speed of the Jarvan. You take that turret out, you keep top and mid alive, and you get a nice little gold lead already at 15 minutes.
You just know that Hanwha Life players are the sort of kids that got their Christmas cards and shook them out. Where's the money at? Where's the? They weren't reading the text here because they're so focused on what they get that they're not looking at what the enemy are getting in scenarios where they should be trading up. They invest everyone. All 5 people are needed to get this single kill. They need to use heal. Songyun doesn't take the magical journey and is like, aha, I'll stay, and gets some turret damage and then just disregards the Abyssal Voyage. It's so greedy, and it's Songyun and Ki, the most veteran duo lane we have in the LCK.
This is an avoidable mistake, as you like to mention a lot of the time, you know, the VOD review kind of thing, where you go back and look at this and you say to the bottom lane, hey, you can't do this as, well, can Tucson live is another question. No great health for him this time around as Deft, gonna miss that Q. Maybe not respecting him enough, but in goes Cuz. They don't seem to have the damage, but Pawn able to pick up hard. On the backside, here comes Rascal into that backline. Is this the big time bait coming in? Huge stopwatch timing from Rascal, but in goes Songyun just tipping away. And so many different members. Finally gonna get a second one on the backside. Here comes Def, gonna try to get on top of Songyun, has that chip damage. The hook shot comes in, and he gets it, but Tempt at least is able to trade one back.
Super exciting on the back end. The Frozen Thralls, if the first one came in earlier, might have just tipped the fight. On the side of Kingzone, very bloody trade, small advantage Hanwha Life, but only a small advantage. Opened up with Tusa, just not finding the right cleanse timing. Hanwha Life trade 4 for 3, but it could be 5 for 3.
Well, he does have his top 10 as Def goes forward. He lives with about 20 health. He had 18 right there towards the bottom. I saw it, but could have even gone lower as Def. He's playing with fate here.
He was having ultimate trust. Is the True Shot Barrage going to go wide? We'll never know. We're going to watch the replay here. Tucson has cleansed this entire time. When should use it? Could use it here, doesn't. By the time he uses it out of great health, it's not a great timing there, but you understand the theory. When we see Tempt come in, you think it's over, but then Pawn says, that's a lot of people that I could get Frozen Thralls on. The first one is on the wrong side, and then he tries to choose his moment. They focus onto Bono. He goes down. Tal actually lives another 1.5 or 2 seconds. This could have been a Kingzone turnaround at a time when Hanwha Life wants to be fighting. So not an ideal trade, but this one more to the side of Hanwha Life.
The Frozen Thrall you were mentioning nearly took out Bono on the backside, but Tempt sticking around, knew it was going to be a close one, able to shovel up a kill on the backside of that one as Mountain Drake, seems like Kingzone doesn't want to give over 2. They'll use this time on the map to take their own Whereas Tal gonna have some free time on the top side, take out that turret.
If you want an update, LeBlanc has no deaths, so there was no answering kill. We don't know if Too Short Barrage went wide or hit. Kill was not obtained. During that replay, Death Squad, and we wondered what Cuz, Born, and Rascal will be doing. They're a roaming Death Squad. We talked about the pick CC in the mid game. Tal also can get some CC going. Which way is the CC train going? Because I think it's going to be the gravy train right now.
I mean, they absolutely know that this is coming from the north side. You can see the positioning of Deft and Tucson, very smart. They don't even stay under turret. They know they're safer below the turret on the right side of that one. So we'll avoid any kind of, you know, crazy dive that we would have had underneath that tier 1, and things gonna calm down for now.
And it's important to know that Hanwha Life played to their control towards top side of the map, the vertical jungling. Being reversed from level 1, and that was Kingzone roaming around their control of the map. So while it looks like a fiesta with 3 different people on either side looking and trying to start a fight, it's actually pretty controlled and played to the win conditions of both sides, ends up being a 50-50.
Does come in, bottom side. Inner turret goes to the side of Kingzone as we're about to hit that 20-minute mark. We do have Mountain Drake for each team, and Kingzone with a slight lead. What do you feel like as this game goes along? Who's going to be feeling like they're in a better spot the longer this game goes?
So the only reason to me to pick top lane Camille is to have eventually a point where she walks up and deletes both turret and champion health pool. Now killing the Scion is hard, but chunking him out enough to force him to back off to at least Warmog's heal while you take a turret down is the reason you take top lane Camille, and of course team fight initiation. So the tipping point is probably going to be later after the earlier laning phase. So I think that's where things really hit the next gear. If after all the incremental nerfs there isn't a period where that happens, the liability of Hanwha Life versus Kingzone, it's very close, but I give a small advantage to Hanwha Life. It's very small, but to me, Rascal in a side lane should be the main win condition here.
See, that does play out as here comes Scion from the bottom lane. Gonna miss that Tempered Fate, but he gets the huge stun onto the Catfish here.
TP.
Easy kill. Now, can they get out of it is really the question. 2 members do, but the rest of them are stuck in there. But here comes Temp into the backline, but he gets ulted by the Hextech ultimatum. He's going to be immediately focused down as he was the only one going forward as the rest of his team was going back.
These fights are so hard to gauge because it's a fool's rush-in moment if 2 people die on the back end and the frozen thralls win you the fight on the side of Kingzone, or it's perfect if you get your man and get out. We only knew right at the end whether that would be the case. Ends up being very close trade between the two. It's such a topsy-turvy game, and 14 kills at 21 minutes is fast for LCK standards. TP coming.
Oh boy, Pawn, what have you done? As here comes Tal from behind. Pawn absolutely will go down. The question is, did he bring anyone else with him as Temp trying to go on the run here? Magical Tourney, strangely small there as finally the stun does come in, and Tucson will help out his AD carry.
Always love seeing fights kick into next gear, and Hanwha Life are going for closest target into make sure Ezreal doesn't do damage. If you watch their fights, you'll see that everyone drops who they're damaging and turns onto Ezreal after a burst comes in. Speaking of burst,
yeah, Tucson takes a bunch of damage, but so does Tal on the backside of that one. It was interesting in that fight. It kind of felt like Tempt, you know, there's not so much Camille nowadays, especially in solo queue. Unless you're going to see it in the top lane, but you don't see it all too much. Maybe just wasn't expecting to be ultimatums there and kind of got caught out, but that Camille pick wasn't very impressive for the side of Jin Air, but not so bad so far, I'd say, for Kingzone.
I love the build from Tal. We talked about Warmogs there to try to heal away after those Rascal trades. Going to watch the replay. They go in for the burst, and they take down Tucson very, very quickly. But then watch the rest of this fight. They see the TP flank coming in, even 5v4. Their first job is, all right, make sure Ezreal doesn't do damage. As the fight goes on, Tempt uses everything to try to zone depth, and that's where he gets caught because they have such a binary decision as the fight goes on of using everything to shut down Ezreal. They get caught in one spot. Unfortunately, Rascal goes top. Tom Kench has to Abyss Voyage. It takes time, so it's a really good flank teleport by Tal. Not something he was known for on SKT, but something that's been observably better on Hanwha Life.
Able to make the play happen as it was perfect timing, right? As Kingzone were thinking about tipping away at that turret. They just are able to get caught there underneath that one. We do have an Ocean Drake coming up right now. We'll see if Kingzone do actually want to commit too much to that one.
Getting the zoom out here because Pawn is on quite the walk. Pawn and Tal are always going to be on walks here. He should be spotted soon. No vision down from Tal. The Baron is at least being postured to by Hanwha Life. They think that's going to draw out Rascal, but he's being dogged and not responding because his TP is up, and that means the smite. And the TP. Kingzone can have all their members there pretty quick, but Tal is lying.
Pawn actually just scanned out where the Scion was. They see him on a ward now, but some nice extra information.
Our observers are working overtime. We're getting to the vertigo levels of zoom out to see the next levels attempted by both sides. So far, Kingzone have been the more stubborn team. They're saying, we're going to still do it our way. Hanwha Life trying to next level them by moving towards Baron wasn't enough to actually affect Kingzone's position. You look at Hanwha Life's team, their Baron speed isn't that fast. They're not believing. Pawn knows he's not spotted.
Take a look at Pawn. Just going to get in the backside to zone them out as everything is thrown out here. Still no Devour. Going to be used just yet, but here comes Scion right into the front line. It gets the top fence right there, but Def's able to pop back, and in goes Rascal into that back line. Can Tim trying to turn this around with this damage as Rascal's gonna go down. Pawn has to use the stopwatch. So much of Def's damage went straight into the Scion, and so many members still available to flash in from Temp. Is not gonna be enough to get any of these guys down, as it looks like Hanwha want to turn this one up to the top side after that fight.
Ezreal hasn't got his items yet. Remember, the vertical jungling around the bot side has actually slowed down Ezreal. He only got the Mirror Mana transformation recently. No Blade the Ruin King can't puncture through Tal and his Warmog, so Hanwha Life stop Baron, and it's going to take a lot to stop this. There's no smite for Kingzone, and Tucson doesn't have Unsealed Spell.
Well, we'll see if Def can do anything here. Nope, as the Devour has to be used, the Baron goes the way of Hanwha Life at 25 minutes into this game.
Really interesting game so far. 19 kills at 25 minutes. Gonna watch the replay. This is Pawn investing everything. Could have just tried to zone with his E, but they allow the arrow to come through. And now, of course, with the longer cooldown on Devour, when do you use it? Is always a fair question. Used quite late, but Def can't do damage to Tal just yet. Rascal comes in, he deletes the low health part of Bard, but otherwise he can't do damage and live. He can't do that yet. There's no Guardian Angel or tankiness behind him, so the reliability of Hanwha Life's comp was the reason I gave him the slight edge in fights. We're still seeing that as Rascal is caught between items. He has one completed item at 26 minutes.
And hanging on to half of 2 for now, as that will definitely be a bit of a problem here. Scion just runs straight at you with his tank items and does so much more work for now. Still waiting on that one, and again, the gold is even for now, but that Baron being picked up here by Hanwha Life is definitely huge. Looking for multiple objectives off of the back of that to get ahead in this game. They're already going to get 2 of these turrets, as Tal even threatening there to fight up against Pawn. Feels very confident to do so.
Bard has 110 visions. That is insanely huge, but it shows you the map pressure is allowed to place and clear vision. On a walk against Baron buff, that's risky.
He's going to get knocked up here, as nobody's going to commit onto that one. It is a flash Lissandra that may even have Zonias at this point. So just going for a bit of a walk, as you were saying before, as once again we're zooming out here. Hanwha Life still looking for a big angle, take more objectives.
I think Hanwha Life should almost pay no respect to Kingzone. We know the gold lead's not massive, but given the comp they have, the strong front line, and the fact that the threats on Kingzone aren't that strong, it's actually Gunblade done now, but only a single tier. It feels like Hanwha Life has have to win, but Kingzone gonna fight anyway.
Don't want to make them respective. The double knock up into the backside. Big different fate as Tim is gonna try to get away from this one, but does go down, and with the 2 carries gone, as you mentioned, it looks like Hanwha Life going to maybe be gone in this fight as a triple kill goes the way of Def. Can he get another one? That one will go to Pawn, and 4 kills go the way of Kingzone.
I have no idea how they got done Sungyun so quickly. Sniped by Deft of all people. Disregard what I say. If you can kill Ashe with this front line, you take it every time, and now with that, they're pushing through mid.
I mean, it was just the flank once again. The TP comes in, the Abyssal Voyage, and from behind, they get into the backline.
So, Scion frontline is what I said made Hanwha Life square and reliable. Scion's not there, and Kingzone find their R buttons, and damn does it work out. They instantly murder Ashe and with her dead, Temp doesn't have this sustained DPS to fight through, so really well done by Kingzone. You mess that up, you lose the game. It was against Baron buff as well.
Definitely these are two teams in the middle of the LCK bracket that at times like to fight dirty, especially Kingzone. You can see extremely happy, a sigh of relief there even on the coach, as he knows that's a huge deal. He gets 4 members of Baron away and so many kills to swing back the gold lead in a massive way to Kingzone, about 2,000 ahead.
I think people would be pointing at Deft and his lack of lethal contribution in previous fights. Well, now there's all the items that he didn't have before. Now Deft will be looking for a hard carry performance, and the bounty is back. 1,000 gold bounty won by him so well. 900s on the way there. Still some playmaking available, a lot of ults available for Hanwha Life.
You can see Cuz is just thirsting to get to that back line and once again catch the Ash, but not wanting to go that far. As okay, maybe this time around, as nice stopwatch to try to dodge that one. He is going to flash on over. He's going to take a bunch of damage, but the stun is there, and Rascal is going to go way too far. But take a look at this. Can he do the damage here on the backside? It looks like Sion with a huge knockup, but he's all alone for now. But here comes Songin around the bend. This fight getting so dirty, and it looks like it will just be the one kill that goes the way of Hanwha Life.
You see why we hyped up fights for Hanwha Life when they had Baron, because Sion is unkillable in the front line. He's present this time. Rascal falls into one of the cardinal sins of League of Legends, a more recent one than don't chase sins, but don't take the Bard Magical Journey. That's never going to work out. Magical Journey here was so pivotal, because watch this fight. Rascal says, I've got him again. I've boomed him onto Songyun. It worked last time, but first the stasis, and then he sees the Magical Journey and says, Songyun will take this. Instead, Songyun smartly flashes over, and Rascal gets just going to be hit by the binding into death. Cardinal Sin is completed. Tal eats 4 persons damage for so long. He is so outrageously tanky.
And he never dies.
And he still survives.
Yeah, the whole battle. Stays alive until the end, somehow, some way. Nice job by Pawn, actually. Was able to zone away a lot of the damage dealers in that side for a very long time to allow Tal to do his job and tank that one up. But we're getting the zoom in now on Deft, who does have the red buff and is getting really fed. Has 1,000 gold bounty after all of the fighting that has happened here. And you'd have to imagine once that Archangel staff is finished, this guy's going to be hitting like a truck.
All right, Hanwha Life, no more tricky map plays. Those have really cost you this series. Killing the Silas over and over in game number 1. As Temp doesn't pick up the blue, that's actually going to be Cuz. And also pushing up for P5 and getting engaged on. Speaking of being engaged on.
How about going for the LeBlanc? If you can get behind her that far, you're definitely going to get the kill. And wow, just really nice play there by Kingzone.
Tucson has gone from being Tom Kench being a black mark on his champion but only play engaged to looking really good on the Tom Kench. Their playmaking there was excellent. They knew the cooldown couldn't be up. He missed out on the blue buff. They took him down. Now Kingzone's on Baron. What are you going to do?
Well, the answer is we're going to back off and farm and go back home. They have to give this one away, as they know that without the LeBlanc, they have so little damage threat or chance of getting on in there. They're not going to sacrifice Mono, who doesn't have his flash. So the Baron going to get on 5 members now of Kingzone.
So Tempt is on a lane ward to start this play. Gets chunked out and has to flash. This is very relevant information from the observers before the blue buff contest that we saw happen before. He doesn't get the blue buff. We skip that part, and then he's done. That was actually a really good 3-point part, and I love observing like this. We had it yesterday, we get it today, where you understand a plan coming together. Why did Smeb into the brush against Griffin? Because level 1, we saw the Griffin members reveal themselves on the other side of the map, and thus Smeb went for a face check. Why do we see in this game the play there be successful? They did their due diligence. They went down the checklist of he doesn't have flash, he's level 15, so his ult cooldown is relevant, and he didn't get the blue buff, so I don't think he has Mimic Distortion. Well played by Kingzone.
Absolutely. As Devour used there on Cuz, that could be relevant if Hanwha Life were in the driver's seat here, but against Baron and down a bunch of gold now, they're not going to be able to make use of it. And Archangel staff here finished, looking to push 2 lanes now as Kingzone. Deft here with Tucson in the mid lane, everybody else hanging around the top side. Also keep your eye on that Infernal, will be the first of the game in a minute or so.
It's just so hard now with the shoe on the other foot, with Baron onto Kingzone. Hanwha Life squandered their Baron, and that might have squandered their foothold in the series, Valdez. Now Kingzone have Baron, now Deft's ready to go. He's ready to make them pay for what was a much quieter early game for the Kingzone Superstar duo.
Push comes in. Doesn't look like there's much of a chance of engaging on this one as, okay, actually, I'm going to hold that thought. They're looking for that one. It's a little bit too early, though, as they're diving Songin in the backline. Redemption keeps him alive for so long. He's still alive in the backline. Somehow, Songyun stays alive, but can they win the fight here as Tall? He's really tanky. Doesn't look like he'll be able to stay alive in this one, as the inhibitor will go down even though Songyun was not able to go down here. Kingzone gonna set their sights now on Red and Inferno.
Holy crap, Songyun lived for so long, but actually it's a more egregious point when you watch the replay and appreciate something. We'll go the way to Kingzone. They got the inhibitor. They still actually get everything they want except the game victory instantly. But it's another time when Kingzone are a bit bold. Here's something to appreciate. Songyun has Guardian Angel in this play. So they dive in, they use all of their ults to dive in, do Rascal and Cuz, but they're the front line of the team. And the best they're going to get is a Guardian Angel, while Sion zones Ezreal for the majority. They're not playing around how strong Ezreal is, they're trying to slow down Songyun without the damage and the items to back it up. So I think that's once again a little bit disconnected, and that's why they don't just straight up win the game, they get a small lead.
Shout out to Deucin to save Cuz's life on the backside as well. There's no GA on the Jarvan, and he flashed. Well, he doesn't flash, but he's able to get in position and devour him, save his life to keep it at 4-4, so that they can continue the push onto the inhibitor. Small little great Tom Kent's play that makes all the difference once again here.
And the redemption from Bard also was why the Guardian Angel was retained on Ashe. Now, here's what I'll say. We saw an awesome fight back that couldn't actually bring back the game yesterday as Root beasted it against Jinair. It's not the same level of lead here at 6,000 gold, but Hanwha Life have maintained Flash and have a 6-item Ashe. It's still a possibility. I think Kingzone are very much in the driver's seat, but they're still hyped with this game. Has 1 or 2 more awesome fights before it's over.
Definitely has been a fun day of games so far, as is exactly what I expected. Again. Okay, we're looking at the bottom lane now. They're just going to try to outmaneuver them. The rotations are big as they want to take out this turret. You see that Rascal trying to do so tall, taking so much damage. It's Pawn, it's Lissandra that is going to be in the tempered bait. That's not who you want, as she's just able to get devoured up anyway. Down will go the turret as the push of Kingzone never seems to end.
Definitely is starting to get super oppressive. It's as the cannon minion, with the minion wave already down in the mid lane, as here comes Stein trying something, but goes wide.
Trying his best to predict, but at the end of the day, his team not able to get on in there behind him. They're doing nothing. As finally, Cuz gonna show his face to the Ashe here. In goes he and everybody is getting into that backline now, as Rascal even gonna do a nice amount of damage. Deft is totally safe the entire time. Kingzone get 2 kills. It looks like they might get 2 kills against Hanwha, as they're looking for the Game 2 victory.
Deft doesn't get popped there. His life is still almost full. They want to end the game around these minion wave pushes, but only one wave of super minions for now. Bot lane super minions gonna take a while. Bono.
Nice TP as Bono desperately trying to clear waves, not able to do so. The dunk comes in, and once again, it's just Songyun against the rest of the team. Does a nice amount of damage to the Camille, but that's just it. May even be able to retain that GA, is going to use it to try to save the game, but this one is absolutely over. The dancing even comes out of Cuz, as they'll get 1 more kill, and another kill in the game here, as the Nexus goes down for the 2-0 for Kingzone.
And that means that regular season Kingzone DragonX versus Hanwha Life Esports ends very finely poised. 2-2. After 2-0 Hanwha Life a couple of weeks ago, Kingzone battle back, and they show the changing in the winds of fortune for Kingzone DragonX. This was a lot more convincing a performance. To me, the thing that separated the 2 teams is that Kingzone always seemed to know their win condition and always played with a lot of forethought. We saw the observers showing us about all the checklists they were marking off before they made a map rotation. I think Deucin should easily be MVP for this game. This was an outstanding Tom Kench game, and Deft was much more of a tertiary figure, but Kingzone seems smarter around the rift, and I think that means they should be deserved favorites when these teams meet again in the future. It also helps them jump up the standings and maintain that spot, as this could be the rivalry which decides who makes playoffs and who's condemned to being number 6 again.
Definitely does also tell the story of Kingzone slowly growing and getting better, it feels, as a team. And Hanwha Life, unfortunately, struggling in recent times. They go down to Damwon, and now they're going to go down to Kingzone here once again. And these are teams that you would like to beat if you want to have a chance to make it into playoffs, as that will be the competition into playoffs. We'll have to see which of these teams can stay more consistent at the end of the season, at the end of round 2 here, and actually make it into that 5th or 4th spot.
I know, to me, it's an awesome best of 3. 2-0s is sometimes very skippable, where you don't learn anything like, this team flexed on this team, great. But here, we learned a lot about tendencies, a lot about where teams are strong and weak on these evolving squads that haven't worked out exactly where they're good, exactly where they're bad. They haven't worked out how they're going to assault Griffin and be a top 1 team. But both these teams did some good things this series. I just think that Kingzone outweighed them, especially on a macro sense. Hanwha Life's bloodlust for Pawn in game number 1, and then their squandering of the Baron buff in game number 2 were the big reasons they were shut down. Nayeon's walking up. He's still smiling. Sorry, mate. It's 2-0. The series is over.
Yeah.
Not going to get to play on this day, but he's holding up some things for his team. Is that a mold tissue? That might be a wet tissue there for Pawn.
The
Pawn's
little,
packing up.
Box of wet tissues on his little table, it looks like there, that he's carrying around. As for now, he's the water boy. Unfortunately, maybe next time around he will get to play.
But this is a second round robin series, and why I say that is not just factual, it's the difference between Kingzone and Hanwha Life is not night and day, but after you've had all this stage experience, being that much better at macro, kind of observably better in some of the rotational plays, is enough to close out Series 2-0, is something super significant, not in Series 1 or not in the first round robin where people are still kind of working out the kinks. More and more the kinks are worked out for Kingzone every series they play, and as a 5, they're getting more and more fearsome and more looking like a dark horse that could start in the wild card, don't get me wrong, but potentially take some best of 3s or best of 5s over more established teams.
I mean, it's already happened a couple of times, right? They've 2-0'd Damwon Gaming already. They've 2-0'd Sandbox. And that's not really close series. That could have gone either way. That's 2-0s both times. So Kingzone, absolutely, I would say the dark horse of this one. I would predict them to go up ahead of Hanwha. Obviously, it's easy to say that after they did just 2-0.
But if I asked you power ranking, it'd be so hard. Because I think the best of Kingzone is right up there. You're like, who is good, right? Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 2? But the worst of Kingzone, when Rascal and Pawn and Cuz are falling apart, they look very off the pace. So this could definitely be a team. To me, they look like, based on current form, will make top 5, but they could easily crash out 2-0 in the wild card. And you're like, that makes sense. Or they could 2-0 and build up ahead of steam and take some giant killing names. So very interesting right now where Kingzone ranks and also where they rank in a month's time.
Will they be the new Africa of 2019 and just go to wild card and drop out, or actually make a splash here? We'll have to wait and see. We're going to take a look at some highlights here as the solo kill once again. Tal, I mean, on the winning matchup of Jace versus Vlad, he did very well before the mistake that happened in game 1. And then Sion versus Camille, he's able to get that solo kill, so I suppose at least he should feel pretty happy about his play in this series.
I think Tal played really well today. I think this is one of those games where you could show this to a 2018 SKT fan, and first they would laugh that he lost 2-0, but you watch his play and he knows exactly how much health he can tank, it engages, his teleport flanks were good. All the things that he couldn't perform on SKT, I thought he actually had a really strong series here, so can feel hard done by in defeat. A lot of the issues, again, we felt were macro sense around the side of Hanwha Life, but so DragonX is who we're focusing on. They weren't as on top of Hanwha Life as they were in game number 1, but they still had a good performance in game number 2, and this play against the Baron was what won them.
Then it was the hook shot for the stun into the alley-oop because makes the Ashe disappear, and attempt as well, because they get both the carries in that one play, and that's with Baron. That's with Hanwha Life pushing to potentially take a unrecoverable lead in this game, but doesn't happen. It's 4 kills to the side of Kingzone, and some really measured plays in this one as well. They get the flash on 10 from the mid lane. They show back up into the top lane after his distortion, and really take advantage of that. Really smart play today from Kingzone.
The Bard comes back, but not to a victory on the side of Hanwha Life. It kind of reminds me of the Blitzcrank they played last series, and the comms were, we didn't practice that much, but Sungyun was feeling it. You would feel it. This was kind of the same thing, because even that Tempered Fate disconnect, it didn't look 100% ready to go on the Bard play, and while the Bard got them some good things in the lead around bot side, in the end, it'll be on the shelf for a while. We hope to see it again. It is a legendary pick for Key, but not to a victory on this day.
He did his best, had some good moments, but in the end, Kingzone do come out the better team in this one. Last highlight, I would imagine, from this series as Kingzone are able to eventually push on to the win. Take a look at the damage. 52,000 in 37 minutes. Seems about right for Ezreal's, especially Def's Ezreal.
36, 53. So it's about 40% damage, which it didn't feel like, right? But Ezreal, of course, the master DPM, and we lost Bang, so I think Deft is #1. Bang and Prey are gone. We had 3 God Ezreals. Now we still have Deft, and we have to appreciate the Alpaca that is still in our midst. Great performance from Kingzone DragonX, but really fun series. This is the 2-0 that you could recommend, even if you were spoiled, you could recommend going back, watching. If you're tuning in late, do go back and enjoy the VOD. We're going to have a long break before game number 2, series number 2. But that was a really fun one. Kingzone too good on the day.
Very fun series, as it always is, with Hanwha and Kingzone coming on in here. And yeah, we're going to have to wait and see who gets the MVP. I agree, it should be Tucson.
Or Cuz.
But, you know,
Tucson,
Cuz did have some really good
Those are my two people.
But yes! It is going to be Tucson. Fantastic. I heard a cheer from...
Dongjun was so hyped.
Yeah, the Korean casters as well.
We don't get a vote, guys, Korean or English casters, so I think we were all calling for my man Tucson to pick up the MVP. Remember, he was so close to being spring MVP of the overall season, the first ever support MVP. On his 300th game, he wins an MVP, so not a narrative MVP. This was just an awesome performance from Tucson.
Some really intelligent plays in this one. Gotta hand it to him as he makes it happen on the top 10s. Not just keeping his Ezreal safe and, you know, playing that passive kind of Ezreal Tom Kent. He was being active around the map and making his team win the game.
All the Abyssal Voyages were on point. And remember, those Abyssal Voyages where he donated kills to the enemy was a big reason that Freak of Freak struggled in the playoffs last year.
오늘 승리의 주역이죠. 킹존을 든든하게 받쳐주고 있는 바텀 듀오 모시겠습니다. 데프트 선수, 투신 선수 안녕하세요.
And we're going to be joined by Deft and Tucson, the bot laners of Kingzone.
네, 데프트 선수는 인터뷰 지분율 100%입니다. 매 승리의 순간에 데프트 선수가 있었는데요. 오늘 승리 소감 어떠신가요?
victory?
일단 하나 생명, 하나 e스포츠가 이제 저희랑
Well, Hanwha Life
같이
Esports.
이제 플레이오프를 좀 경쟁하는
competing for the playoffs, you know.
오늘 저희가
So
이겨내고
I'm really happy that we kind
네,
of took them down and we are a little bit closer to the playoffs. So I'm really happy.
승리로 장식하셨어요.
And this was your 300th game in LCK. You got a victory
오늘
today.
300전인 건 몰랐는데 네.
I wasn't really aware of that fact that it was my 300th game in LCK. I'm really happy, and especially it was 2-0 victory, so I'm
오늘도
really
바텀 라인전이
satisfied.
정말 강했습니다. 바텀 듀오의 활약이 빛났는데 사실 1세트에서
Kingzone's bot
징크스가
laners, you
자야
guys
상대로 바텀
had so much
라인전이 아주 강한
priority
편은 아니란 말이에요.
today.
하지만 데프트 선수, 투신
Even though
선수가
you had the
함께하니까
Jinx
어느 순간
Brown
우위를 점하고
composition, which is
있더라고요.
kind of weak in the laning
데프트
phase, you
선수는 라인전 할 때
even
가장
won the
중요하게
lane.
생각하시는 점이 뭔가요?
What's the most important thing in the laning phase as an AD carry?
되게 많은데
There are a lot of things.
일단 네, 그냥 뭘 잡아도
Well, just
이길 수 있다는 자신감이
You
있어서
need the confidence. I mean, I have the confidence that I can win.
데프트 선수 하면
no matter
요즘 자야가
champion I
생각이
play.
나는데 원래 오늘 자야 하실 생각이었나요?
Were you planning to
이제
play Zaya
상대방이
today?
자야를 가져가게 돼서 좀
Yeah.
상대로 뭐 하지
So
생각해보다가
since
그냥
Hangyun took Zaya,
징크스 자신
I
있어서
was
그냥
thinking
하게
of what
됐던
kind of champions I
네,
can play
징크스로
against it. So I
자야를
locked in Jinx
불러버리는
in the end.
모습이었습니다. 자, 1세트에서 아주 중요한 장면 나왔습니다. 화염용 한타
So let's
만나보시죠.
check out this team fight for the Inferno Drake over here.
네, 이때 교전이 펼쳐지고 있었는데 저기서 라스칼 선수가 3명의 선수를
라스칼
막아냈어요.
Was taking
알고
so much
계셨나요?
aggro in the front line of
저렇게까지
from 3 Hanwha players.
앞쪽에서도 저희가 굉장히 좋게 한타가 열려서
Well, I didn't really know that because we also had team fight in the Dragon Pit, but he was,
네,
I guess he was
라스칼 선수가 잘
doing really well.
이렇게 데프트 선수가 킬을 만들어낼 수 있었습니다. 이때 한테가 굉장히 중요했는데
This
끝나고
was
나서
one of the most
이제
important
우리에게
team fight
완전히
over
승리가
there.
넘어왔구나
So
생각하셨나요?
did you feel like you got the momentum after winning that?
1세트에서 이제 상대방이 좀 뱀픽 쪽에서
Well,
저희가 조금
during
꼬인
the
부분이
draft,
있어서
I think our draft wasn't really that
게임
perfect.
시작할 때 안
We had
해본
some mistakes, so
픽들인데
because we weren't really
괜찮을까
used to
하고
these new picks,
했었는데
but
1세트도 이제 좀
we were just trying to be
깔끔하게 이겨서 2세트는
confident,
더
and
쉽게
game
이길 줄
one
알았는데
was kind of
좀
clean,
어렵게
so we were able to. I thought we were
네, 하지만
going to be able
2세트도 잘
to win game two even easier, but it was actually a bit of more struggle. So yeah, it was a bit tricky in game two.
아니었더라고요. 하지만 중간에
In
보니까
two
골드 차이가 미세하게 앞서 나가고 있었어요. 2세트는 라인전 어떻게
Well, game two, actually, you guys were a bit behind in terms of gold and in terms of lane priorities. How did you kind of cope with those problems?
생각보다 상대가 좀
Well,
타이트하게 운영을 해가지고
they were even doing it tighter, you know, a little bit more harder
그럼에도 저희는 좀
in the laning
잘
phase.
풀어보려고 했는데 어떻게 호흡이 잘
So,
맞아서 좀 이긴
I think
타이밍이
we
빨리
had
왔던 것
a
같아요.
lot of
네,
very well
킹존의
team
호흡이
fight going
정말
on,
빛났던
so
장면이
I mean
있습니다.
teamwork going on,
미드한타
so we were able to
장면
kind of
보면서
turn
얘기
the
나눠볼게요.
game around.
네, 여기서 애쉬를
This
노린
was one of the most
팀원들의
significant team fights.
킬 연계가 정말 인상적이었는데요. 이때
There were a lot of engagement and Ash to take her down.
바론을 먹히긴 했는데
So
애쉬가 결국 뚜벅이기도 하고
Hanwha actually got Baron, but we were. I thought we were a little bit in the lead in terms of opening team fight.
미드를 집어치면 무조건 걸 수 있다, 무조건
So
이긴다라는
we knew that we had the right angle to open team fight in the mid lane over there, and all the other players were doing so well doing the follow up, so we were able to win that.
이번 미드 한타 미드
Yeah, I was
무조건
just
걸겠다.
waiting for them to come to the mid lane to open team fight.
투신 선수의
It was all
오더를
planned.
필두로 정말 멋진 장면 나왔습니다. 요즘에 킹존 이 바텀 듀오가
킹존.
LCK 최고의
Everyone
듀오다라는
is
평가가
emphasizing
있어요.
about you
투신
guys.
선수
The bot
어떻게
lane,
생각하시나요? 만족하시나요?
you guys are the strongest bot lane currently in LCK.
받는다는 건 되게 좋고 뭐 영광스러운
I mean,
거라고 생각하고
it feels really honored to hear some kind of compliments, but I'm gonna keep trying hard to
네,
just
킹존의 바텀
maintain
듀오가
as
더
the strongest
강해지길
bot laners in
기대하겠습니다. 자,
LCK.
이제 킹존의 다음 상대는 SKT입니다.
And your next opponent will be SK Telecom.
이 기세라면 이길 수도
I mean,
있지 않을까라는 평가들이 나오고 있는데
The momentum is so good. I think you guys will be able to take them down. Are you confident?
팀을 상대로도 항상 자신 있어서
I'm confident against any other teams.
팀들한테 다 복수하고
And
있거든요.
I just
다음 경기
we are always giving our revenge on the teams that took us
네,
down.
지난
So I just want to
인터뷰에서
make
데프트
that
선수가
to happen again.
다 자신 있다. 뭘 잡아도 이길 자신 있다
Def
하셨는데
is that you are
다음에는
so
또 어떤
confident
원리를
on
들고
any
나올지
crit AD carries. So I'll be looking
기대하겠습니다.
forward to
자,
seeing your
투신
pick.
선수도
And
SKT
Tusin,
한마디
any
부탁드립니다.
message regarding SK Telecom
저희가
matchup?
다음 경기가 SK 그 다음 경기가 담원인 걸로 알고
So SK
있는데
Telecom and Damwon Gaming is coming up.
이기면은 되게 높은 곳까지 올라갈 수
Well,
있는데
if we are able to
다
take
이겨서
them down,
제가
we will be
높은
able to
곳까지
reach
올라갈 수
higher
있도록
ranks. So I'm
최선을
gonna make
다하겠습니다.
sure to make that
네,
happen. So
킹존이
please keep supporting
서북부로
us. Thank
진출할
you.
수 있길 기대하도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 인터뷰
This
감사드립니다.
will be the end of the interview with Def and Tusin.
네,
I'm
데프트
gonna pass
선수,
it
투신
back to
선수
our caster.
만나봤습니다.
Thank you.
중계선 연결할게요.
And we're back. As they mentioned, you know, Tucson said they got SKT next and then Damwon right after that. So the schedule for them only gets harder, but I feel like that's a good thing because right now they're really firing on all cylinders. They're able to clinch that 5th place spot for now. Just one game score behind Damwon Gaming. It's super close to both SKT and Damwon actually.
But it's so tantalizing about us. I want to see that best of 3 now. I want to see both of those series.
Let's do
Kingzone
it.
versus SKT will be Atlas and LS on Sunday. I will be watching with my eyes peeled at home. Could be a best of 5 preview for the playoffs there. Kingzone and Damwon are red hot at the moment. Sandbox and SKT have been a little bit up and down recently. So just seeing those 3 teams, SKT, Damwon, and Kingzone, will we have a greater than chain? Will one team pull away from the other 2? Any of the scenarios, and we actually learned something. And with Griffin removed this week, not playing any games during this match week, we get this evolving story that's just so tantalizing, given that we know that Griffin's right at the top.
Yeah. Right now it does feel like there are 6 teams that want to get into 5 spots for the playoffs. We'll see if any of those bottom